What is going on, guys? So today we are doing another review of a show that just recently came out. You guys will also see me on Mondays for The Last of Us, but we have two shows that are going to be airing at the exact same time, and that is going to be The Legends of Vox Machina as well as The Last of Us. So today I am doing a review on the first 3 episodes of The Legends of Vox Machina, which, for those who don't know, it's on Amazon Prime, and Season 1 released last year in January. I believe it was the 28th, and to amazing raves and reviews. The Legends of Vox Machina spawned from a very popular Dungeons & Dragons podcast called Critical Role. The individual DM, Matt Mercer, their first campaign was following the Vox Machina crew, and this encapsulates everything that they went through. However, there are some creative royalties that are taken. Obviously, not everything that is done in a Dungeons & Dragons playthrough game can be put onto screen. Animation has given it a lot more creative ability, which is fantastic, and it's also the same creators, I believe, that did the Justice Leagues or the Justice League Unlimited, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, this show has hit that little itch for a Dungeons & Dragons fan, pretty much. There's comedy, there's gore, there's language. It is adult as adult gets, and that's kind of the appeal to it. The people that shouldn't, this isn't made for kids. It never wanted to be made for kids. Critical Role was never made for kids. It was always made for adults, millennials, teens, our age and up, pretty much, to just enjoy these fantastic voice actors all portraying characters in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. So I'm going to get right into it. First off, the 3 episodes, it's always too short. I believe they're 24 or 25 minutes apiece. Although that equals out to a little bit over an hour, it's just too short of time. I can't deal with it. I need more. I always need more. I'm glad that they're doing 3 episodes at a time, and I believe that they're doing this because this started as a Kickstarter. The first season was released 3 episodes at a time, 4 weeks, so that anybody that was part of the Kickstarter could get it for free, because Amazon Prime had not planned on buying them. Amazon Prime bought them, gave Critical Role pretty much a month's free for any individual that put money towards the Kickstarter, and now they're seeing the same people come back, and I believe that's why it's set in 4, so that somebody, if they had a month trial, they'd be able to watch all of this. Whoever's watching this, if you haven't watched Season 1, hop off, go watch that, because this is going to be heavy on the spoilers. This starts off exactly where Season 1 ended, which, spoilers incoming. At the end of Season 1, we were introduced into essentially 4 dragons heading towards the capital city of Taldore called Amon. These dragons lay siege to all of them. It was extremely brutal. The introduction for all of them was fantastic. They are known as the Chroma Conclave. Now, I am not familiar with Season 1 for Vox Machina. I have watched a little bit of Season 1, but if anybody actually knows the amount of episodes that go into Season 1 of Critical Role, I'm pretty sure it's upwards into the hundreds. I know for a fact Season 2 was super high up into the hundreds, and I watched all of that, from beginning to the end. I am waiting for about episode 60 for Season 3 so that I can power through that, but the campaigns are a journey, and it takes time to go through this, so I'm not going to completely compare this. I do remember certain things. I ended my walkthrough of Season 1 just before the Chroma Conclave kind of kicked in, so I had more understanding of the first season compared to the second season. However, the second season absolutely sticks with the gore, sticks with the humor, sticks with everything that has to do with D&D. The 4 dragons that were introduced were Umbrasyl, Rayshawn, Umbrasyl, which is he's the acid dragon, which something that was really cool about the acid dragon, when they introduced him and they showed him, he has a pursed throat, which a pursed throat is such an amazing detail. The idea that a dragon would just spit poison or spit acid out was kind of weird. So I was like, okay, the fact that they actually have he like croaks up almost like a frog and then spews out the acid. That was a really cool detail that they added. Also, the fact that it was raining down acid on this city was demolishing. It was insane seeing some of this, because these are like, it's the Chroma Conclave. This is 4 of the strongest dragons in the realm coming together because they want to conquer everything. That's such a crazy concept, and kudos to Matt Mercer for developing this campaign and developing this storyline, because it's chef's kiss. It's so fantastic. There is a couple of sequences at the very beginning that are really good. Uriel's death was menacing. The dragon that spits out poison, Raishan, he like just spews out the poison, and luckily some of the heroes were actually like saved from this poison. But you see the king, Uriel, he stands and he's looking at, I believe it was his family. I'm not 100% certain, but he was looking at his family. They made eye contact. You see him smile, and it's just like a trail of blood comes from his mouth, then from his eyes, then from his nose, and he just collapses. This was a main character through all of the first season, so seeing this happen was like, whoa, this is insane. So that was awesome. The Raven Queen was kind of hinted. She's hinted a couple of times throughout these episodes. Also, because they're coming up into another portion, which is talked about later in the 3rd episode, which I'll get to that at one point. But you see Vax start to see the Raven Queen like getting into his head and start to have like these somewhat visions and hallucinations. It's really a cool concept that they put into the actual show. Thordak, the Cinder King, a monster, an absolute beast, a terror to this world, blasts. I don't even know how to describe it, because I couldn't even say that it was like a breath weapon. It was like an overcharged Godzilla burst weapon that he shot through the capital of Amon and crumbled the entire castle. Like right when that happened, I was like, okay, stakes are so high. Stakes are so high. This isn't even funny. Like, I was questioning, I was like, how did they resolve this in the campaign? Like, how did the characters see this and be like, yeah, by the time we get to level 20, we can take out all 4 of these? I am baffled by the thought of that, but I don't know. So I think they do, but I don't know. So again, we shall see. There's a couple of really cool instances of using spells. The best thing this show does is actually sticking true to D&D lore. There's one part where Gilmore's shop gets crumbled and they have to go and heal Gilmore. You literally see Pike, she puts healing hands on Gilmore, and then right after that she's like, okay guys, I'm tapped out until we get a rest. So it's that little bit that we're so used to as TTRPG players, where utilizing spell slots, utilizing resources is so important, and having that kept in the show was something so minute, but the detail kept in for me, especially being a DM. Like, I appreciated that. I sometimes hate it when players forget about certain things like that, and it's nothing against them. Everybody forgets here and then. Somebody will, fudge a dice roll. I don't care. As long as they're having fun and as long as you're enjoying it, but keeping that a little bit of immersion is so good. Also with Varugel, which is the ice dragon, I believe it's not a blue dragon because that's a sapphire dragon, but it's the ice dragon. He actually uses true sight to see through one of Scanlan's illusions, which was a really cool detail. Like, you actually saw his eyes, like this little film go over it with blue, and then he saw the shimmers from the illusions. Again, fantastic detail, and it's because it's being written by a dungeon master. That's essentially why. At the end of this episode 1, Scanlan does not want anything to do with the dragons. Like, he doesn't want to be involved or anything like that. And there's more to Scanlan's story that I know of because of clips that I've seen. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it really starts to pull on his character of how he is really in it for himself up until a focal point, like a kind of a climax in his character arc that you guys will see. I don't know if it's even this season, but it might be next season. But it's a really good motion for his character arc. We are introduced to Vasselheim. Vasselheim is the most fortified city in all of Tal'Dorei. And I actually am not even sure if it's part of Tal'Dorei. I think it might be separate, just because of some of the dialogue that the leaders have with Vox Machina. But all the religions are mentioned, which is really cool. Seeing the Wild Mother there, who's a focal point in Season 2. Seeing the Stormlord, another focal point in Season 2. And finally getting to see an introduction of the Stormlord with Grog was really cool. He gets the crap beat out of him, which is crazy because it's Grog. He's huge, he's a brute. But this dude just lays him out, and it's pretty fantastic. That's all going on in Season 2. Vesselheim wants nothing to do with Tal'Dorei. They're not going to help. They're not going to help Amon or anything like that. They pride themselves in being away from everyone, so that's what they push. So we get introduced into the Slayer's Take. Slayer's Take is a group of hunters that hunted down like super crazy monsters. And that's one of the reasons why Vasselheim is so protected, is because of Slayer's Take. It's found that Vex and Vax have a little bit of a history with them. They are wanted, and they are introduced to Osisa the Sphinx, which is a really cool character. She messes with their heads and then convinces them all to get into the right mindset for fighting on for this cause. Really good on the character arc. We're also starting to dive deeper into the cursed sword that Grog has. I know what the sword does, and if you look up anything to do with those magical weapons from Season 1, you'll know about it. I would recommend waiting, because I think this show is going to portray it very well, and I don't recommend you knowing what it is, because the shock is going to be even better. At the end, it is talked about, like, the Sphinx mentions to them the vestiges of divergence, which were literally god killers. That's what they were. They were weapons that were sent straight down to the world to kill gods. That's it. That was their only job to do. And that's what they got to do to defeat the Chroma Conclave, apparently. Percy is looking for some gunpowder and stumbles upon a little shop, who the patron of the shop is played by none other than Matt Mercer. He plays a couple of different characters throughout this whole thing. That's the whole gag with it. He's still the DM. He's still going to play a majority of the characters. They have a star-studded cast for this all the way around. Like, the beginning of Season 1, they had David Tennant playing one of the main characters. David Tennant's one of my favorite actors, especially British actors. So having him in it was insane to me. But we are introduced to Ripley being still within the mix. I don't know when they're going to throw her back in. The first 3 episodes went, and all we heard was her name. So there might be more to it. There might not be. Who knows? Maybe it's something for Season 3. When we get into Episode 3, we are introduced to the fact that the dragons are wanting to branch out. Essentially, they're trying to take over everything and loot everything so that they are the most feared and the most powerful within this realm. Crazy concept. Vox Machina are going to find the tomb of the Raven Queen. The Raven Queen has a lot to do with Vax. She's kind of the main focal point for his patron, and that's coming up, as you guys will see. And it's mentioned that Pervan, which they make a joke about, the fact that it's Pervan, pervert, which is funny. So they are hunting right now for Pervan's armor in a temple that supposedly they can't find at the current time. And they find out that it's underwater. So there's actually some really cool use of shape water, as well as maybe it's hold element. I'm not 100% sure. We also get a glimpse at the belt of beards, which is what Grog wears. Puts it on, just grows a full beard. It's just a gag. It's a meme. That's all it is. It's great because it's Grog. We also start to see some flashbacks for Vex and Vax with their father, which is something that I actually really appreciated. There's a book that is between them two that was written, and it's really good on going in depth on the background with them. It shows how Vex was trying so hard to impress her father, and how Vax just so desperately wanted independence from his family. They start going into this temple, and they get against these individuals called Adaro, which that combat sequence is brutal. They're underwater people, and part of this temple is underwater, and it's just constant blood and gore. It's fantastic. And at the end of that combat, we're starting to really see the toll that this blade is taking on Grog, the curse that he's dealing with, it's getting very, very intense. And Pike is actually starting to notice it now, which has now started a whole new series of events. There's a cool instance of using Detect Magic by Ash when they get further into the temple. He kind of like puts his hand down and it goes all the way across. I don't know what they walk into, because they walk into somewhere else, and then when the entire crew gets there, Percy and Vex actually stumble upon the original tomb, and it actually... the episode ends with the possibility of Vex being dead. I'm not certain how the show goes. I don't know where it's going from here, but they left it on a cliffhanger like they always do. It's so great, but I needed more, as always. So, all in all, that was everything from episode 1 to episode 3. They're starting off really good. The combat is there, the attention to detail is there, the acting is all there. They're hitting every single point for me personally as a DM watching this. I love all the Critical Role cast. I think it's fantastic. I think everything going on right now around Dungeons and Dragons is soiling it a little bit. I know it's going to destroy the opening for the movie, unfortunately, not the Vox Machina movie, but the Dungeons and Dragons movie. But Critical Role does so much good. They have their own charity. They're a fantastic group of people. And if you haven't started any of their campaigns, I highly suggest going and checking that out. But other than that, those are my thoughts and opinions on how this first 3 episode grouping came out. I love it. I'm excited to see more, and I'm excited to see what they do with this season. There's definitely a lot of space that they can go into. It's opened up a lot of doors. I personally watched the combo attack between Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine, so I do know of some magical items that Vax has, as well as Grog and Pike. So I am interested to see else comes about from this season. So other than that, we appreciate you guys watching. If you liked what I had to say, drop a comment. If you didn't like it, don't dislike it. Just tell me about it in the comments. That's so much easier. And subscribe so you guys get all the notifications when it comes in, because we are going to be doing weekly for this and weekly for The Last of Us. 2 video games, 2 games that are being adapted into a show. It's like Christmas for me in January. It's fantastic. So I'll catch you guys all later. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.